So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our video of Mars in the fifth house in Cancer for Pisces ascendant, where Mars is the second lord of family, wealth, money, speech, food, and also the ninth lord of luck, fortune, father, higher knowledge, dharma, okay, pilgrimages, foreign travels. And so when Mars, goes into the fifth house, and what is the fifth house? Fifth house is your intelligence. Fifth house is your children. Fifth house is your future. Fifth house will represent, part of your higher education. Fifth house is also part of speculation. Fifth house is stage performances. Like fifth house is fun and games and sports. Okay. So here, obviously, we can't just say, well, your Mars is debilitated, so it's all bad. No. Okay? Because you got to first understand what the yoga is being created here. First of all, second lord is in the fifth. Ninth lord is in the fifth. Creating a situation related to abundance of money and wealth in a person's life. Okay? And especially that money and wealth strongly gets influenced, like a person's intelligence gets strongly influenced by their father. Father and family members always kind of control this person's intelligence. Not control, but like whenever a family gives suggestion or father gives suggestion, including younger brother, they tend to listen to that. They tend to always use their words in conversations with other people. So if father said doing this thing is bad in life, and they heard it, and something inside them begins to feel like, yeah, they might be right. And so when some conversation comes in with a third party somewhere future in time, they will use that is bad, even though they may not believe it or not. They may not have experienced it or not, but they will use that. On the other hand, though, this person can be extremely irritated with children. Why? Because now this person is forced to deal with emotions. Okay? Mars goes into Cancer. So here a person, instead of being that tough person, being that person who wants to be that perfect general to create the most awesome army and soldiers, they tend to receive children that will need emotional connection. So now Mars is kind of forced to deal with them on an emotional level, and that's where the frustration comes in. Why? Because the intelligence, which is Cancer for Pisces in the fifth, okay, is now being influenced by this malefic planet Mars, this headstrong planet Mars, this go-getter planet Mars. And this is where, within those, emotional roller coasters, they do become frustrated with children. They want them to do things now, this way, their way, the right way, while the children needs more emotional support to get there. Now, usually this would be a much balanced thing if, let's say, Jupiter or Moon somehow is supporting this particular Mars. Then they balance out that particular part of Mars. On the other hand, your father will behave like a mother with your children. Okay? Father will behave, and it'll be easier for father to actually be like this motherly person for your children. Why? Because Mars is coming from a feminine sign. So your value system, which is Aries, is the second house, right? This is my value. Now, where do I take these values? You're taking that into the fifth house. So now you're going to still those values in the fifth house, but now that masculine energy is becoming a feminine energy. It's transforming. So Mars has a hard time instilling values in children in a way until they actually emotionally connect with them. They can't just straight up give a command and those commands happen, because it can tend to have a negative impact on children. But father is able to do that. because father is coming from a feminine sign, a water sign, going into the water sign itself. So it's much easier flow in that case. On the other hand, you will also see younger brother will always tend to uh, want to go into some form of speculation, always wanting to find a way to quickly flow the river of money. Also, especially younger brother or father would have done a lot of traveling in their life. They would have been involved with either chemicals, hospitality work, real estate in their life. Father may have had to change his home many times, but especially here we see that father would have migrated from some faraway place to settle when you were born. So maybe he didn't move after that. Let's say if there's like Saturn is in front of Mars, let's say even in the sixth house. Ketu is in front of Mars in the sixth house or in the same house. Then that movement suddenly finds a little bit of a break, or sometimes a long-term break. Okay, but before that, it shows father and his lineage would have had to migrate a far place, even through water or crossing the river. Okay, and when it comes to the intelligence is technical, but at the same time, a person is very clever. See, Mars in Cancer, it's not debilitated in a sense you think. Because Mars is as it sees it, as it does. That's what Mars is. Mars is given a task to throw that arrow on that target, and is this particular arrow. And Mars is like, okay, I'll do it. Very simple instructions for me. Thank you. In Cancer, Mars has to develop this psychological game playing. So even in their educational fields or people that they grew up with and they went to school with, you will see they will use that psychological warfare with them to win certain things, win certain battles. Okay. Now, can this person be into sport? Yes and no. Because for that, you need combinations for other planets, especially Mercury, Venus, and Saturn. You're going to have some kind of a connection there, whether it's by nakshatra, whether it's by sign or whether it's by conjunction, whether it's by aspect. Okay, but that's going to be needed because sometimes, a lot of times I see people who are not interested in sports at all. What they're interested in is that technical thinking. What they're interested in is that strategy to win over through some form of a disguise. Because Mars is here, is no longer like black and white, shoot arrow. Mars has to kind of become a SEAL team. Mars has to navigate through the flow of water, become like a spy. Okay, become something that they're not, and they have to go with the flow. That's the thing. They have to go with the flow to get their win in that battle. So such a person is extremely intelligent and clever. Okay, cunning can come in with certain other planets, but they're clever. They know how to and this is why when Mars is given in the fifth house, since birth, in the beginning it's challenging, but then as it's like you're playing some sport, you don't know how to hit. Like for example, you take golf. It's hard. Golf is extremely hard. Okay, like 1 week you are doing extremely well, the next week you can't even hit a basic iron. That's how golf screws with you, right? So, but over time, that vulnerability of messing up becomes lesser and lesser and lesser. So this is how this person, as they're growing older in their 20s, late 20s, 30s, mid 30s especially, it's like they have, through all their errors, trial and errors, they have now mastered that emotional side. And this is why, especially late in life, they are able to much better handle and understand children than somebody who, let's say, has children in their 20s. But even if the person had children in their 20s, they will have um, they would have kind of understood how to deal with this battle. And especially in a female's chart, obviously this will show one will have children through C-section. Spouse will be extremely emotional. Like it's like almost a adolescent child. You said something and they will take it to the heart, because Mars does not know how to handle emotions. Okay? Only later in age that they can handle it, that they can suppress that part. But otherwise, this in a female's chart, it shows that it's like if a female has 2 children, she might actually have 3 children. Because this person will have their moods when they don't get something. They will throw a fit when they don't have something. They emotionally shut down when some things are going against them. Okay. And like even with early on, like I said, the spouse will also have many, many changes happening with them. Like especially if their career requires change, it's so much better. Like if your husband, let's say, had a steady work, after they married you, they're like getting frustrated because the steady work they have is no longer feeling ease. It's no longer feeling comfortable. The thing is, because of your Mars, there needs to be a change. And there is going to be a change because it's a chemical reaction, which is marriage. So your husband will have to have a profession that either changes frequently, the project changes frequently, there's a lot of travel, or anything dealing with the moon will suddenly now balance out this particular Mars in your spouse's life. But of course, if spouse finds Jupiter in front, it's much easier transition. Unless, of course, other planets are somehow looking at Mars as well. Okay. So anyway, guys, this is, and also, like even with food, you will see, whenever they eat too many spicy and fried foods, stomach issues will happen. There's too much fire within the stomach where there's water. So constipations will happen. And this is where, especially with Mars in the 5th, because 5th is the esophagus. Because whatever you eat goes into the 5th house first, before it goes into the 6th house, the digestion. And this is why you will see that such a Mars gets emotionally imbalanced with wrong foods. Their intelligence doesn't work so well if their diet consists of too many fried foods, too many spicy foods. I love spicy foods, but certain alignments have to balance those things out. Okay? So anyway, guys, if you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And if you want to know everything about your Mars, my books, reports, consultations, check out the links here, kapielastrology.com. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.